There's something in your kitchen right now that empires went to war over. Something so valuable it was once locked away like jewelry, measured out in tiny amounts, and worth more per pound than gold. Today it's so cheap we throw it away. It's in almost everything you eat, often hidden under dozens of different names. The average person now consumes their own body weight in it every single year. But behind this sweet white crystal lies one of the darkest stories in human history. It built empires, and it destroyed millions of lives. It reshaped entire continents. It rewired your own brain to crave it. This is the story of sugar, the sweetest thing humanity ever became addicted to, and the terrible price the world paid for it. For most of human history, sugar didn't exist in the West. People sweetened food with honey or fruit. Sugar was unknown. The sugarcane plant came from the islands of the South Pacific thousands of years ago. Slowly, it traveled west, to India, where people first learned to crystallize its juice into solid sugar. To them, it was almost magical. Sweetness you could store, carry, and trade. When medieval Europeans first tasted it, brought back through the Arab world and the Crusades, they were stunned. Nothing in their world tasted like this. But it was extraordinarily rare and extraordinarily expensive. Sugar became a luxury only kings and the very rich could afford. It was kept under lock and key. It was displayed at feasts as a status symbol, sculpted into elaborate showpieces to prove how wealthy you were. Doctors prescribed it as medicine. It was even used as a spice, a gift fit for royalty. A pound of sugar could cost the equivalent of several months of an ordinary worker's wages. For centuries, sugar was white gold, and Europe's hunger for it was only beginning to grow. That hunger was about to reshape the entire world, and it would be paid for in human lives. To grow enough sugar to satisfy Europe, you needed two things: tropical land and an enormous amount of brutal labor. Europeans found the land in the Americas, the Caribbean, and Brazil. For the labor, they turned to one of the greatest crimes in human history. Sugar became the engine of the transatlantic slave trade. Over the course of centuries, millions of enslaved Africans were forced across the ocean, and a huge share of them were sent to work and die on sugar plantations. The work was relentless and deadly, cutting cane under a brutal sun, feeding it into crushing mills, boiling the juice in scorching sugar houses. Injuries were constant. Life expectancy on many sugar plantations was measured in just a few years. This was the true cost of Europe's sweet tooth. The sugar stirred into a cup of tea in London was produced through unimaginable suffering an ocean away. The two were directly connected, and for a long time, most people simply chose not to see it. Sugar didn't just move people in chains. It moved money, and it moved power. The profits built port cities, funded banks, and made fortunes that helped power the Industrial Revolution. Entire economies were reorganized around this single crop. Historians call it sugar and slavery, because you cannot tell the story of one without the other. Eventually, the tide turned. Public campaigns against slavery grew, and remarkably, one of the most powerful weapons was sugar itself. Some Europeans began boycotting slave-grown sugar, refusing to sweeten their tea with human suffering. It became one of the world's first great consumer protest movements. Slavery was, at last, abolished, though the world it had built remained. With slavery gone, you might think sugar's dark chapter closed. Instead, sugar did something new. It conquered the entire world, including your own body. As production industrialized and new sources like sugar beets appeared, sugar became cheap, shockingly cheap. The luxury of kings became something anyone could buy by the bagful. And that's when sugar found its final, most intimate empire: the human brain. Here's what sugar does to you. When you eat it, your brain releases dopamine, the same reward chemical involved in other pleasurable and addictive experiences. Sugar lights up the brain's reward system powerfully. Your body evolved to crave sweetness because, in nature, sweet meant ripe, safe, energy-rich fruit. For most of history, that craving was useful. But we never evolved for a world where pure sugar is available on every corner, in almost every product. And the food industry understood this perfectly. Over the 20th century, sugar was added to more and more products, not just desserts, but bread, sauces, cereal, yogurt, so-called health foods. Often it's there specifically to keep you coming back. It hides under dozens of names on ingredient labels. The result: today the average person consumes vastly more sugar than any human being was ever designed to handle. And the consequences are enormous. Diets overloaded with sugar are linked to obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, conditions now affecting hundreds of millions of people worldwide. In a strange way, sugar completed its conquest. It went from a locked treasure of kings to a substance quietly harming the very people who once craved it as a luxury. The sweetest thing we ever discovered turned out to have the highest price of all. The next time you stir sugar into your coffee or read it on a label, remember what you're holding. This tiny white crystal was once locked away like gold. It moved millions of human beings in chains. It built empires and banks and cities. And in the end, it conquered the one territory that mattered most: the inside of your own head. Salt built civilizations. A metal box connected them. A mosquito decided who survived. And sugar, the sweetest of them all, turned out to be one of the most powerful and most dangerous things humanity ever craved. Ordinary things have extraordinary stories. If you want to hear more of them, subscribe, because next time we're asking how a single spinning needle, the compass, let humanity conquer the oceans and redraw the map of the entire world. See you in the next one.